welcome back here. Big day in college football for all programs. Here, December 15th, the early signing day, which in a lot of ways has become the heavier signing day for sure. We'll still have February 2nd down the road, and I'm sure we'll still have some names to add. But by and large, the bigger portion of our guys, and most programs for that matter, guys will be added today. And it's an exciting time every year to see your future, to add young men that we think can really make an impact here, and to be in this situation this week where we're still playing. We have finals going on. We got to practice yet this afternoon. It's a good combination of events for sure, and we really feel like this class though does deserve the attention today. We got a lot of things going on coming up on Saturday, but these guys that have made the commitment to join us, we're really excited about. And to kind of go through our process as a staff, this was going to be an atypical year. With me getting the job back in February, we'd already cut into the recruiting cycle a little bit, so there was a good number of young men in particular here in the state of Montana that the staff had been recruiting. Obviously I retained a bunch of the coaches, so that helped continue those relationships on. You couple that with that we were still in the dead period through May, so that in-person contact was still going to be something that was down the road. So really through February, March, April, and May we were doing everything from a virtual perspective, much like anyone else was, but that was certainly had its challenges. On top of that, roster numbers and scholarship numbers were going to be less. Coming into a job, you inherit those numbers, and really roster management is a fluid operation, and one that you want to streamline as much as you can. So we're in the process of that, but we inherited roster numbers, and guys that were signed last year. I got the job after the second signing day, and all those guys were signed. We added a couple more as the spring and the summer went along. On top of that, there's 3 young men that are still going to join us from that last year's class coming yet in January. So there's a lot of math involved, and I think the NCAA did their best to manage last year and eligibility not moving forward for this year for 21-22, but that comes to an end this year, and we all have to be back to our numbers next fall. So a situation going into it, we knew we weren't going to have a huge number this year. We knew we had to be pretty selective and be very deliberate at the same time. All the young men we signed from a high school perspective, we had the good fortune to have here on campus this summer. They were all part of a camp at minimum for at least a day. And I think that's going to continue to be a critical piece to our evaluation. Seeing guys in person, getting a chance to see them compete, but then also just see how they react to coaching is something that as a staff we really value. We have been able to get out a little bit this fall, and canvas the areas that we recruit, in particular the bye week. I was able to get to quite a few games in the state of Montana this fall. So the guys that are in this class, we've seen most of them play live. While putting those two things together, the live evaluation in the summer and then following up with the senior evaluation, we feel really good about their continued progress. What we're looking for here within this program are guys that fit, guys that are going to make us better. So we want competitive guys, young men that value their education, and really guys that see that we're going to develop them here. This is a developmental program at the FCS level. You have to be committed to that, and we want guys that want to be part of that want to see themselves 3-4 years down the road and what they're going to become, because we're going to make a significant investment in them. That's in the weight room, that's nutrition, that's academically, that's on the football field with our coaches. So in that, we feel like we have a group of young men that see that vision of ours, and it'll be exciting to get them here in 22. It's a class made up of 16 guys right now. I do expect that number to grow. Some I won't give an exact number of how many more we might add, maybe in February, but 16 right now. Of those 16, 12 are from the state of Montana. So first off, we feel it's really important to dig deep into high school football in the state of Montana, and know that there's a lot of hungry young kids out there that that are probably playing more than one sport. In a lot of cases playing 3-4 sports, and have that capacity to really develop. And seeing those guys at the stage they're at as juniors going into senior year, we have to be able to see into the future a little bit, and also communicate with them how we see them. And I thought we did a real good job of identifying a group of guys that can and want to develop, and I think guys really want to be here at MSU. Otherwise, we signed 4 kids out of state, and our area that we do recruit is similar to what it was before. Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Texas, Minnesota. However, we haven't been in those areas a whole lot as of late. We got into most of those areas for a couple days during the bye week, but generally that's weeks that you spend within a recruiting cycle in all of those areas. So it's a little bit more heavy right now, in-state by percentage, but that's not to say we would this would have been the same number of in-state kids anyways. And I suspect as we move forward, there's some out-of-state kids that will become part of this class. So really excited about this group, and what I want to do is go through each one of them and talk a little bit about each one of these young men, and then answer questions at the tail end. So first off, I'll just go alphabetically. Ethan Abbott out of Florence Carlton. He is a guy that we had in camp, and we could see for a big young man. He's 6'5", 285. That there's a lot of athleticism in that frame. I thought particularly watching him, he's got a defensive mindset, very aggressive, has a violent nature to his game, and then he was a really good offensive lineman as well. So we intend on playing Ethan, on the defensive side, interior wise, and he's got that combination of a large frame, good athleticism, really good motor, and we're really excited about what Ethan will bring to that interior defensive line. Christian Anaya out of Chandler Hamilton is the next guy up, a 6'1", 175-pound receiver. Had him in camp, and that day at camp, he was clearly the best receiver. No matter how or who lined up with them, he was gonna get open. He's gonna catch the football. Ran well, showed really good body control, really good hands that day, and then he followed it up with just a tremendous season at one of the elite programs in Arizona. They were a nationally ranked team through much of the season. 87 catches, 980 yards, 17 touchdowns. That's good numbers no matter where you're playing. He's playing against some really good competition down there in the Phoenix area. So, really excited about what Christian brings to the table. I think he's got a frame that can be built upon, and we just feel like he's going to get, just bigger and faster, and he's already got the foundational skills of all the things that we're looking for at receiver. Caden Dollar and Taco Dollar are up next. Speaking of those two, they're twins, but they're very much different in their own right. Caden, 6', 190. Had primarily, I think, been more of a defensive player up until this year. Was a two-way player this year. Was very effective on both sides. Missed a little stretch. And Billings Westerly had a tremendous year. They were runners-up this year and last. And Caden, to me, was one of their top leaders, top playmakers on both sides of football. For us, we see him right now, fitting in that safety room. But it'll be interesting to just see, how he'll continue to develop physically. A good frame to grow, and I think with him the intangibles are off the charts. Caden's a guy that I think he'll walk in and he'll say, which ones of these guys are going to be leaders in the future? I think Caden's definitely one of them right from the start. His brother Taco, 5'9", 160, has primarily been a star on the offensive side, but played corner as well, and he was very effective at that size at both positions. Was named the Gatorade Player of the Year in our state, and that's with every team, it seemed, trying to take him out of the game. Whether that's putting safety over top of him on defense, not kicking to him in the return game, he still managed to make a huge impact. And both these two are their own guys. I think it was important for them to get a chance to play together, but it wasn't the absolute. We could be more excited to get them both in our program. There's a competitive nature to these two young men, and they come out of such a good program. The impact that they're going to have beyond just their playing ability will be far-reaching. Next up, Logan Frederickson, defensive end out of Rigby, Idaho. I'd like to say just down the road, but a few hours down the road in Idaho. 6'3", 210. When he was here this summer, we saw a kid with a good frame that could really run, and I think a guy that has been used all over the place for them defensively, and he is most natural. When he's coming off the edge, they were a state championship team, both his senior year and in his sophomore year, and Logan obviously was a big part of that. So he comes from a really good program, and he's been really a versatile guy for them. They kind of put him wherever he was going to best suit their game plan that week, and I just appreciate his competitive nature, and really look forward to seeing him develop into what we're looking for at the defensive end position. Next up, Casey Kotzman, kicker out of Butte. Kicking and finding opportunities, punting and finding opportunities is challenging on the recruiting side. Not every school is looking for them, and I think for us, with a guy like Casey in our state, we saw him a couple times this summer, and we're awfully impressed. And at the same time, we have two freshmen kicking for us right now. Both Blake and Bryce will be sophomores next year, but I think Casey really saw this opportunity as what he was looking for, and I see it as an opportunity for him to at minimum back those guys up, because he can kick and punt, but also to push them. I told him this isn't something you're just coming here to rest on your laurels, and you got to continue to get better and better. But he's been a name that I think has been widely known across our state for his talents the last couple of years. I'm really pleased to have Casey join us. Max Kimball up next, another Billings West product. Max was a two-way player. He was a first-team All-State on defense. Max comes from a long line of Bobcats. His dad and three uncles all played here. And the big thing with Max is, I think we felt like he was a good player. And when I sat down with him, I wanted to be about him wanting to be a Bobcat, not everybody thinking he should be a Bobcat. And it was apparent this is where he wanted to be. I think he's got a bright future. Again, much like Caden, they're pretty similar body types. Whether they're safeties or ultimately, they continue to grow and become a linebacker type. That's remains to be seen. But they're both going to start, in that safety room, and really excited about what Max will bring to the table. Ryan Cray, another legacy. Ryan's father played for the Bobcats out of Great Falls High. Ryan was a tremendous running back for Great Falls High this year. Also a really good linebacker. I think for us, most of our defensive players that are really effective probably in a lot of cases were the best, maybe one of the best players on their team. So offensively they were highlighted, and that's certainly the case with Ryan. We look forward to getting him in that linebacker group and really see what he can do. I think he's a guy that's got a good frame, that's going to be able to put some weight on as well, and moves well, and certainly had a nose for the football when he was on the defensive side. Continuing on, Burke Mastel out of Red Lodge, 6'4", 290. Another smaller town, Class B, much like Ethan, both those guys hailing from Class B schools. But that's something that we're going to look everywhere, and to get two guys with the potential like these two have, is awesome. I think, in Burke, we saw a guy that was pretty effective as a junior, had him in camp. You could see that he was getting better, and then how he played this fall, really validated our thoughts. I had a chance to see him live, and very athletic for his size. He also plays hoops, and he's been a good player on the hoops floor. He's a guy that does give us on the offensive side some inside-out potential. Whether he's a guard or tackle, I think that's all for us to decide. And just really excited about Burke, and his ability to develop here in the next couple of years. Next one up, Connor Moore. Ohio wasn't a state that I rattled off at the beginning, but we do have a couple on our staff. Coach Huswright and then Tyler Walker, our director of recruiting, are both from Ohio. So we found out about Connor, 6'5", 260 out of the Toledo area. And Connor did come all the way out here for camp. I think the nature of last year, he didn't get tons of exposure. And in that, he was a baseball player, so he didn't get all over the place to do camps. But we had one at the end of July that he was able to come out here, and we loved his frame, his size, his athleticism, and then he really followed it up with an awesome senior year. And Ohio obviously is a highly populated state where football is very important, and Connor, I think, was he was a really good player over there, and we feel very fortunate to get Connor in our program. He bought into our vision for him, and is certainly taking a leap of faith coming out here to Montana. But he fell in love with the place. His parents, in their couple trips, really enjoyed it as well. Next up, Max Murphy. Yet another Billings West product. Max, a two-way player, 6'2", 220, and was I think for us, from a physical nature, how he was utilized at Billings West as an H-back. There's some similarities certainly to how we want to use him when he gets here as a fullback. He was also a very good physical defensive player as well. So Max, in what we're looking for ultimately, in that RJ Fitzgerald mode, kind of how we use him is kind of along the same lines, and really excited to see what his development is going to be like in the years to come. Tommy Nilsson, 6'3", 255-pound O-lineman out of Missoula-Hellgate. Missoula-Hellgate came to our team camp. Tommy was definitely a guy that stood out on both sides of football with his size and his athleticism. It was clear to us, Tommy really wanted an engineering degree, and we saw the combination for him here to give him an opportunity to continue on both ends, and he's going to be have to be like our other linemen, guys that develop, but we like the foundation of the size and the athleticism that he brings to the table. Next up, our one transfer that we're adding, and Drew will be here mid-year for us. Drew out of Air Force is a 6'1", 185-pound corner, I would say, but with some growth potential. Who knows how that'll work. I think he gives us a bunch of versatility, but we definitely see corner in his future. Katy, Texas, Tompkins High School is where he hails from. There was a little familiarity. Montana State, Coach Reisinger in particular, had recruited him out of high school. So there was familiarity back and forth there. Coach Banks had recruited him in his previous stops as well. So when we were talking about adding to that DB room, there was a thought certainly to get some immediate help, and Drew was that. He's an excellent student. He had this semester, this season of playing and practicing, I guess, at Air Force, a really good Mountain West program. So he's going to be a little bit more seasoned than these other guys, but still have 4 years to play because he redshirted this past year. So really excited about what Drew's going to bring to the table, and he'll be here in January. Next up, Rylan Schlepp, tight end out of Gallatin here in town, 6'4", 230. Rylan was, because he was in town, was our first commit. I don't say he did commit because he was in town, but that's just the way it worked. And we had a chance to see him a couple times this summer, and I think we already knew that he had a good frame and had good athleticism, but I think he took our vision of what he could be to another level when he was here at camp. I was able to see him quite a bit this fall, and he certainly followed up what we thought of him this summer with a great year. And you know, he's a physical, athletic tight end that can catch the ball really well, and very unselfish at the same time. I think he's got great leadership qualities as well, and like I said, he was the first commit out of this group, and all the way along he was the guy that we probably he'd always be asking who we recruiting, who do we want next, all that kind of stuff. And between him and the Dollar twins, they kind of led the charge. Next up, Dylan Snyder, wide receiver out of Butte, 6'2", 185. Really good frame, and had a really productive year at Butte. And I think he's a kid that he's going to continue to grow and give us really good size at that position. Stood out at camp this summer, both the team and the individual. And he dealt with a really bad lower leg break, I believe, when he was a younger player. And to see a kid like that overcome that and do all the things that he was able to do, that there's a level of toughness that a lot of kids maybe don't possess. So very determined young man, and we're doing pretty well with the one Butte High guy we had. So to add a couple more to the mix, we're pretty excited about that. Last on the list, Jake Vigen, 6'2", 200 pound. We're going to classify Jake as an athlete. Obviously, very unique situation. Coming into this year and this move, Jake had always been a quarterback. Growing up, had hardly played any defense, and it was, I say hardly any defense, very few reps. Had only played quarterback, and the challenge as a quarterback, getting recruited sometimes is very challenging, and at the same time, that's what he played. And the way things fell this fall, he ended up playing defensive line at Gallatin, and ultimately broke his wrist in the third game, so he stayed on defense. And I think what we saw in him, he was more than a quarterback. He was a really good football player, played really hard, and I guess the coach's eyes, the dad's eyes, saw an opportunity for him to come here and help us out. And whether that's on the offensive or defensive side, we'll kind of have to see how that goes. But I obviously couldn't be more proud as a father, and really excited to get him in the program. And that's an interesting one for me. So I know I have to praise his mother for all the athletic ability and the competitiveness, I guess, as far as that goes. So with that, that's the group. Really excited about them. I know we intend on adding more guys to this list. I don't know the exact number. I know we didn't take a quarterback in this group. We do have Jordan Reed coming in mid-year. That was part of the reason that we weren't real intent on a high school kid. Obviously, the developments of the last couple weeks, we got to still figure that out. We need that room to keep moving forward. And then we didn't take a running back in this group, and that wasn't necessarily by design. We have intentions of adding a couple running backs, I think, to our team, and that's just a little bit of a work in progress right now. So feel really good about, let's say this is a really good start to this class. It's 16 guys that will bring a lot of value to our program, and excited to call them Bobcats today. So catch your breath.
You mentioned that or alluded to the fact that you kind of stepped in kind of maybe mid-recruiting process in some of these guys. So what was it like for you? And was there a matter of steering any of the coaches in any one way or the other compared to what they were doing before?
I think there's changes in our process. I know one thing that I did. We needed to restructure our staff a little bit. So beefing up our recruiting staff. There really wasn't a recruiting staff. It was the position coaches, and that's the way they did it. So we went out and hired two guys where their primary focus is on the recruiting side. Tyler Walker is our director of recruiting, and Ryan Weiss is our director of on-campus recruiting. And Ryan probably ends up being a little bit more on the logistical side. Tyler a little bit more on the evaluation side. He made a kind of a play to our quarterback club to say, hey, there's some agenda items that I feel really passionate about that we need to invest more on the recruiting side, and they were very much on board with that. So doing things a little bit differently from a process. It's not to say that how they were doing things was off base at all, but I think we need to make some shifts, and a lot of that came down to how do we put ourselves in the best position to evaluate these kids as thoroughly as we can. And then it's really challenging. I think the biggest thing is you're new, and you have some guys that are new essentially to recruiting to this place, and you're still in a virtual world. It was one thing for me to be at Wyoming, and you'd have to jump in this virtual world, but you've been there. So that was a challenge. So I know the guys that had been on the previous staff, really leaned on them, I guess, as far as how that goes. We certainly utilized, Zoom like anybody, and we put together some virtual tours and videos and those type of things to be able to bridge the gap. But it was welcoming to get to June and be kind of back to normal. And from a camp perspective, I thought we had a pretty normal summer while we were just really here in Bozeman. We didn't travel to satellite camps, and that's something we'll have to evaluate moving forward. But challenging, but everybody's got challenges, and I know this. We have a really good combination of a school, a community, and a football program to sell, so that makes things a lot easier.
Can you tell us a little bit more about you mentioned Tyler? I think the guys that you brought in to be kind of recruiting specialists maybe.
Yeah.
And how much you kind of trust their input in putting this class together.
Yeah, I think the more eyes you can get on guys, I think that's really important. So that's where the evaluation side, and both Tyler and Ryan have a piece to that, along with our other coaches. I just think the more views you get of someone, the more. It's not that you want all kinds of opinions, but you just want guys coming at it from different angles as we choose the guys that we want to move forward. And then when we have guys on campus, we need to be able to showcase this university, Bozeman, our football program, as well as we can. And in a lot of this recruiting cycle, this building was still very much in the process. So the number of times we took people through here in hard hats and we're selling what it's going to look like. That was a lot of it early on, and then to get those same young men and their families back this fall, and to see a completed deal. I think this building in itself paints such a great picture of where we're trying to go here. The commitment here, and then obviously just the day-to-day comfortability that our guys now have. So recruiting is what feeds you, and to have more hands on deck, and that's kind of what the task was for both Ryan and Tyler in different ways.
And I know when you got here, the idea or the emphasis was that generally the identity of the team would kind of remain the same, but you also kind of want to put your own stamp on things as a coach. So maybe comparatively, how do you feel like this class might be comparable or maybe different than maybe classes in the past?
Oh, that's hard. We studied the last 5 classes. That was something I wanted to do right away, and and that's just trying to learn to some degree what type of kids have stuck, what type of kids have excelled, and getting input from I think about it. Brian Armstrong, B.J. Robertson at the time, who had been there through the whole stretch, was really important. I know Kyle Reisinger had been there the whole time. So, I think what was apparent through Coach Choate's time is they, really honed in as their time went along, what they were looking for, and I think we really, pick up pretty closely to that. I think sometimes you change schemes. There's maybe a little bit different view of what you're looking for. The basic areas that we recruit are very similar. I think our processes might have changed a little bit, but I think studying recent history and the young men that have really excelled here was important. For us at the very beginning stages of this staff.
Having this signing day kind of in the middle of a week when you're preparing for a huge game, I mean, how would you kind of describe that process and the challenges?
Well, I think the challenge is not so much today. The challenge in large parts of the last couple of weeks. In the last couple of weeks, our contact period, and we're playing games, so our assistant coaches are really preparing for those games. They're not on the road. I got out a little bit I know on Thursdays, this past Thursday, I guess, we got 2 coaches out. The previous one, we had 1 more coach out because we practice in the mornings. That's really all we have all day. But that's where you're tugged in both directions, and I think it's a good problem to have, but you certainly are going to lean on doing everything you can to keep playing, and we owe that to our guys in the program, and I think the guys who are recruiting understand that. But that's the biggest challenge I think that you see through this stretch of time, and but it's a good problem. You want to keep playing, you want to be playing on TV on the weekend and all that, and so we've dealt with it. It creates a little bit busier times, but that's the nature of it.
What are your thoughts just on the timing of the early signing day in general?
I think it's well intentioned. To get guys signed up, I guess, sooner than later. I think the back and forth that did and would exist in the end of December into January was always complicated. I know, the first couple of years I was at Wyoming, and for us to get our class signed up in December and not have to continue to, keep guys in the boat, so to speak, in January was welcome. I know we got poached a bunch at the tail end of January every year, and that still happens right now, but I think it happens less. I think what's occurred though is it's sped up the firing cycle, which I don't know that that's a good thing necessarily, and then it's complicated the hiring cycle. I think one thing it's done now with the transfer portal, it's 2 different worlds, but it's created this situation where the contact period that is meant really for the high school kids applies to the transfer kids, so they got 2 weeks that just like anyone else that they can go places and visit. I think that's, those 2 things don't necessarily go hand in hand. So a transfer kid, he had until basically Sunday to go somewhere, and then really another month till he can go see someplace. So that's complicated. I know it's not all working. I do know that, and I think it was well intentioned on the front end. I don't know that there's a better, earlier time. Someone will complain about it no matter when it would be. I don't think we're going back to 1 signing day though. I don't think that's going to happen. So it'll be interesting. These decisions get made from the top down with, I'm certain, no thought of these FCS teams that are playing. I know that is not the case. So we have to deal with it. You have to be able to be as prepared to work through it as we can. And a gamble, I guess, that we took is during that bye week. We spent a lot of money sending guys around, knowing that we probably, and if we did things right, wouldn't have a lot of money to spend in December. So we really utilized those couple days, and on the flip side, we didn't get out much this month. So it was really important that we hedged our bets, so to speak, and really invested during that week. And we got a lot done that week, both from a senior perspective, but then also I think looking forward a little bit.
Coach, like you said, though, a good problem to have. So how beneficial is it for you to say to these recruits that, hey, we're still playing, you can watch us this Saturday?
Well, I think it's, a lot of these guys have been committed. It's not like we've done a lot. We've had a lot of guys lately. I think there was some commitments late in the regular season, so I think they can see our success. I think our success now will help us with what's remaining as much as anything. The guys want to come to a school that wins football games. I think by and large that's a priority, and it better be, I guess, for the guys that we want to bring here. So that's apparent. We don't have to make that up. I think the exposure this weekend we'll be playing on ESPN2. I think that's important that guys get a chance to see those opportunities where your program does get the seen on a national stage. So yeah, it's hard to put a price tag on it for sure. We'll take it every year if we're having to, do this all at once. I know that, and it'll be exciting to to continue to tell our story of this 21 team to these potential guys, over the the next weeks and months to come.
What's the most important quality that you look in when you look at these 16 players? What do they all embody? And for you as a head coach, what's the most important thing?
I'd be remiss to say it's not some football playing ability, but really it's competitive young men. And competitive is more than just what they are on the football field. It's how they go about their day-to-day from an in-class perspective, what kind of students they are. When you go to a young man's school and you talk to the high school coach or anybody in that high school, just what kind of person are they? Because I think that's all wrapped up into character, I guess, but it's hard to have the football playing ability and not be competitive and a person of good character and for all the work. So, I think we're gonna try find the best guys we can from a developmental perspective. But if they don't have that competitive nature, we're probably gonna let them go. So I think that's the one thing this group I think really does embody, and it's guys from all different types of backgrounds. We have the 4 kids from West, so there's some from the same background, but just excited to bring them together, and now they're their own group moving forward here in a short time.
And with Jake being a part of this group, have you ever officially coached him before, whether it be Pee Wee or high school, anything like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I've done very little coaching of my boys, unfortunately. That's just kind of the way it works. I've coached some baseball, and Molly's done most of the basketball coaching. I really haven't done any of the football. What COVID allowed me is I worked with him a lot. We were just hanging out, and that was mostly quarterback stuff. But I did get a chance through that time to get a sense for his dedication, I guess. That was one of the bright spots of 2020 is just those opportunities. But no, from a team perspective, I really haven't, other than filling in maybe a couple times back, maybe when he was 9, I think I coached a little baseball or something like that, but I was the backup coach then anyways.
Have you put much thought into being his coach and how that's going to
I won't be his direct position coach. I know I played for my dad, and that was a very rewarding experience for me. So no, I think it's something that we talked about through the fall, and I can't say I know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know to being around him more than I would typically. I think that's the first thing you look at from a father's perspective is you hear any coach that gets a chance to coach your son. That's the first thing you talk about. It's not he's going to do this, and this. It's just you get a chance to be around him more, and I really look forward to that first and foremost.
Coach, what is it about the Billings West program that produces D1 talent? They're well represented in 2021, and now there's 4 here in 2022.
Well, I've had a chance. I haven't been in tons of schools, but that's one I've been in. Coach Stanton does a great job over there, and that's something that's he's got a stamp on over time, and it's apparent by their numbers in that program that anytime a high school program has numbers and has the support of the community, let's say, that means parents feel like, hey, I want my kid to play football because this is gonna bring value to their experience, their life, and when that's kind of your foundation, you're gonna naturally get guys that really excel, and then on top of that want to keep playing football in college. So you maybe work a little bit harder as you're going through it, and I think it's a combination of all those things, and once you've laid that foundation and you continue to feed it like I think they have over there, the product is going to be guys moving on and playing, and I think these 4, I think they bring our total up to 7 right now. Billings West guys will have in the fall, so really excited about that number, because I know we're getting kids that know how it should look, I guess, at the end of the day.
How does the recruit battles at MSU, especially with the Grizz, compare to ones you've had at other schools?
That's a good question. I think this year it's hard for me to get this absolute gauge. I know when you're 2 schools in-state value recruiting the state, you're gonna go head-to-head in situations. And, I think my perspective is you have to show the young men in our state why they should come to Bozeman, more than why they shouldn't go to Missoula. Make it about, what we have to sell here at Montana State, what Bozeman's gonna bring to their experience, and then, what being a part of Bobcat football is gonna be about. And, I think the guys that, from our state that we added to our program saw that, and it'll continue to be an ongoing battle. And, that's something that is an everyday, affair. The game is once a year, and but the rivalry and the back and forth and the recruiting side of it's an everyday deal. So different than I've been a part of in a while. It really, for me, would go back to the early 2000s when NDSU and North Dakota were in the same conference. It's been a long time. So I appreciate it. I think, it's, the rivalry is so much, what college football should be about. So then the recruiting battle is just a portion of that.
And I've seen it confirmed, I guess, with Luke. Paula, can you say, is he in the portal or not?
He is, and I appreciate Luke. Luke communicated his desires to maybe to get another opportunity, because this situation, you're a kicker, and the other guy's taken the opportunity and ran with it and has had success. He wants to kick, and at the same time, I said we can coexist here. You can continue on because you're part of the 21 Bobcats, and we want you to see that through. But to be able to be in contact with other schools or have other schools contact him, he has to be in the transfer portal. So it's, that's the nature of it. But I really appreciate Luke's approach to it, and if he didn't have to make it public, he wouldn't have made it public. I guess it's just the nature of the transfer portal. So another, I don't know, a thing they could probably look at trying to fix too, whoever they are.
And kind of along the same lines, you signed a kicker from Butte, two Butte guys. How much has Tommy's success played into that? I don't know if at all with those two, but just your recruiting. Yeah.
Well, I think Coach Gray, being a Bobcat alum, I think is a big part of it, bringing his team over to team camp. I think anytime that you have a player from a program, you get a chance to appreciate kind of, what they're coming from. And sometimes that's really good, like it is in this case. Just really good foundation of what they've been taught, what's important to them. Or on the flip side, sometimes just, it maybe isn't such a good program. But that was evident, just you could tell that Tommy comes from a very good place. And there's such a rich history in Butte. And that it's situated like it is, kind of smack dab in the middle of the two schools. And I think we're going to do everything we can to get all the guys from Butte that we think can play here year in, year out. And we're fortunate to get the two this year on top of having Tommy here.